The headlights cut through the darkness of my driveway at 11:30 on a Thursday night. I was in my old green flannel pajamas, hair wrapped up, about to turn off the porch light when the black car pulled up to my farmhouse. My heart started racing. Nobody came out here this late. Nobody came out here at all anymore, not since Mama and Papa died 2 years ago and I'd been running this little farm alone. The car door opened and a tall man in an expensive gray suit stepped out. Even in the dim light, I could see he looked exhausted. His dark hair was messy, his tie was loose, and he had the kind of face that looked like it hadn't smiled in years. He walked toward my porch with quick, desperate steps. "Please," he called out before he even reached the steps. "Please, I know this is strange, but I need to talk to you. My name is Benjamin Cole and I need help." Desperately. I stood behind my screen door, hand on the lock. "It's almost midnight, sir. Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying." "I'm not selling anything." He stopped at the bottom of my porch steps and I saw something in his eyes that made me pause. Fear. Real, genuine fear. "I need a wife by tomorrow morning or I lose everything my father built. Every company, every employee's job, everything. And I know how insane that sounds, but it's the truth." I stared at him. "You need a what?" "A wife. By 10 a.m. tomorrow." He pulled out his phone and held it up, showing me some kind of legal document. "My father put a clause in his will. If I'm not married by my 32nd birthday at 10 a.m., everything goes to my cousin Gerald. And Gerald will destroy the company, fire everyone, and sell it all for parts. 3,000 people will lose their jobs. And your birthday is tomorrow." I said it as a statement, not a question. "In 10 hours and 27 minutes. He ran his hand through his hair. "I've spent the last 6 months trying to find someone. Every woman I know either wants me for my money or hates me for being too focused on work. I've been driving around for hours trying to figure out what to do. Then I saw your light on and I had to try." "So you thought you'd knock on a stranger's door and ask her to marry you?" I crossed my arms. "That's your plan. I know it sounds insane. I'll pay you. Name your price. 1 million, 2 million, whatever you want. We can divorce after a year. You'll never have to see me again. I just need someone who won't try to take everything I have, and who won't use this against me forever." I looked at this man, this stranger, standing on my porch in the middle of the night, offering me millions of dollars to marry him. Part of me wanted to slam the door in his face. But there was something about the way he was looking at me. Like I was his last hope in the world. "If I did this," I said slowly, "and I'm not saying I will, but if I did, I'd have one condition." His eyes lit up. "Anything. You'd have to come live here. On my farm. In my house. For as long as this arrangement lasts." He blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. You want me to be your wife even if it's just on paper. Then you come live in my world. You leave that fancy life behind and you come here. You help me with the chickens and the crops and the fence that needs fixing. You eat my cooking and you sleep in the guest room and you learn what real life is like." He stared at me for a long moment. I expected him to laugh, to refuse, to get back in his car and drive away. Instead he nodded. Okay. Yes. I accept your condition. I'll come live here. I'll do whatever you need me to do." He climbed up the steps and extended his hand. "So, will you help me? Will you marry me tomorrow morning?" I looked at his hand, then at his face. This was absolutely crazy. Completely insane. I should say no, close the door and go back to my quiet life. But something in my gut told me this man was telling the truth. And 3,000 people's jobs were on the line. I took his hand. "I'm Amara Jackson. And yes, I'll marry you tomorrow. But you better not make me regret this, Benjamin Cole." The relief that washed over his face was so profound that I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "Thank you," he said, and his voice cracked slightly. "Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means." "Come inside," I said, opening the door. "We need to talk details. And you look like you could use some coffee. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I need to ask you something. Have you ever made a decision that seemed crazy but felt right in your heart?" Amara is about to change her entire life for a stranger. If you've ever taken a leap of faith, or if you're curious to see how this story unfolds, please subscribe and comment below. Tell me, would you have said yes to Benjamin's proposal? I really want to know what you think. Benjamin followed me into my small farmhouse kitchen. The space was nothing like what he was probably used to. The cabinets were old but clean, the floor was worn linoleum, and everything was simple and practical. I'd painted the walls a cheerful yellow last spring, trying to bring some brightness into the house after losing my parents. I put on a pot of coffee and gestured for him to sit at the wooden table. He looked around the kitchen with curious eyes, taking in the herb pots on the windowsill, the old rooster clock on the wall, and the photographs of my parents covering the refrigerator. "Tell me the whole story," I said, leaning against the counter. "From the beginning." He loosened his tie completely and unbuttoned the top button of his white shirt. "My father, Richard Cole, built coal industries from nothing. By the time he died 6 months ago, it was worth $3 billion. He was brilliant in business but terrible at relationships. He married and divorced 3 times and he was never satisfied with me. Nothing I did was ever good enough." I poured 2 cups of coffee and brought them to the table, sitting across from him. On his deathbed, he told me he was disappointed that I'd never married, never settled down. He said I was just like him, too focused on work to build a real life. Then his lawyer read the will. Benjamin wrapped his hands around the coffee mug. "Everything goes to me if I'm married by my 32nd birthday. If not, it all goes to Gerald, his nephew from his first marriage." "And Gerald is bad news?" I guessed. "Gerald has been trying to get control of the company for years. He's already lined up buyers to strip the company and sell it piece by piece. 3,000 employees, many who have been with us for decades, will lose everything. The company my father spent 40 years building will be gone in 6 months." I sipped my coffee, studying him. "Why didn't you just marry someone in the last 6 months? Surely there were options." "I tried." He laughed bitterly. "I dated several women, but the ones who were interested in me were only interested in the money. And the ones who might have been genuine wouldn't agree to marriage so quickly. Then there was someone I thought might work out, but she wanted things I couldn't give. She wanted me to be someone I'm not." "What about friends? Family?" "I don't have many friends. Work has been my whole life. And my family is just Gerald and his mother, who hates me." He met my eyes. "I know I sound pathetic. 32 years old, billionaire, can't find a single person who wants to marry him." "You don't sound pathetic," I said quietly. "You sound lonely." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe, or recognition. We sat in silence for a moment. "So what's your story, Amara Jackson?" he asked. "Why would you agree to marry a stranger?" I traced the rim of my coffee cup with my finger. "This farm belonged to my parents. They loved this place more than anything. When they passed away in a car accident 2 years ago, I inherited it. I've been trying to keep it going, but it's hard. The crops don't bring in much, and I've been taking odd jobs in town to make ends meet. I was about to lose everything. So the money would help. The money would save this place. But that's not the only reason." I looked at him directly. 3,000 people's jobs matter. If what you're saying is true, and I believe it is, then helping you means helping them too. That seems like a good reason to do something crazy." Benjamin smiled for the first time since he'd arrived. It changed his whole face, made him look younger and less burdened. "You're something else, Amara Jackson." "We need ground rules," I said, getting practical. "This is a business arrangement. We're married on paper, but we keep our own lives otherwise. You stay in the guest room. We treat each other with respect. And you really do have to live here and help with the farm." "I'm not joking about that. I accept all of that." He pulled out his phone. "I'll call my lawyer right now. We can have the paperwork drawn up tonight and sign it first thing in the morning. Then we'll go to the courthouse." "Tonight? It's almost midnight. My lawyer charges $5,000 an hour." "He'll answer." Benjamin dialed and put the phone to his ear. "Thomas, it's Benjamin. I know what time it is. I need you to draft a marriage agreement immediately." "Yes, tonight. I'm getting married at 10 a.m. I listened as he explained the situation to his lawyer, who apparently asked a lot of questions. Benjamin answered them all patiently, glancing at me occasionally. "No, Thomas, she's not after the money." "Yes, I'm sure. Just draft something fair and bring it to this address by 8 a.m. He gave him my address and hung up. "He thinks I've lost my mind." "Maybe you have," I said. "Maybe we both have." "Probably." He drank his coffee. "Can I ask you something? Why did you make the condition about living here? You could have asked for anything." I thought about it. "Because money alone doesn't tell me who you are. But watching you live here, work here, that will show me your real character. And if I'm going to be legally tied to someone, even temporarily, I want to know they're a good person." "That's fair." He nodded. "And what if I'm not a good person? Then I guess we'll both find out, won't we?" We talked for another hour, working out the basic details. Benjamin would maintain his business remotely as much as possible. We'd tell people we'd been dating quietly for a few months and decided to marry quickly. We'd stay married for at least a year to satisfy the will's requirements, then divorce amicably. "You should get some rest," I finally said. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. I don't think I can sleep. But he stood up anyway. Thank you again, Amara. I know I keep saying it, but I mean it. You're saving my life. We'll see about that, I said, but I smiled. Come on, I'll show you the guest room. The guest room was small but clean, with a simple bed covered in a blue quilt my mother had made. Benjamin looked around the space that was probably smaller than his closet at home. It's perfect, he said, and I believed him. Bathroom is across the hall. I'll wake you at 7 so we have time before your lawyer arrives. Amara, he said as I turned to leave. Why do you believe me? You don't know me. I could be lying about all of this. I paused in the doorway. I'm a good judge of character, Mr. Cole. And I can see it in your eyes. You're telling the truth. Benjamin, he corrected. If we're getting married tomorrow, you should call me Benjamin. Benjamin, I repeated. Good night. Good night, Amara. And thank you. I went to my own room and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. What had I just agreed to? In less than 12 hours, I was going to marry a complete stranger. A billionaire who would be living in my house, working on my farm, and legally my husband. I thought about my parents, about how they'd always taught me to help people when I could, to trust my instincts, and to have faith that kindness would be returned. Maybe this was crazy, but it felt right. And if it helped save 3,000 jobs and this man's father's legacy, then it was worth the risk. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, knowing that tomorrow my whole life was going to change. My alarm went off at 6:30. I'd barely slept, my mind racing with everything that was about to happen. I got up, showered, and put on a simple red dress that I usually saved for church. If I was getting married today, I should at least look presentable. Benjamin was already awake when I came downstairs. He was sitting at my kitchen table in the same suit from last night, looking at his phone with a frown. Morning, I said. Did you sleep at all? Maybe an hour. He looked up and his eyes widened slightly. You look nice. Thank you. Coffee? Please. I made a fresh pot and scrambled some eggs. We ate breakfast in comfortable silence, both of us lost in our own thoughts about what this day would bring. At 8 o'clock sharp, a black car pulled up outside. A thin man in his 50s got out, carrying a leather briefcase. Thomas, the lawyer. Benjamin, Thomas said as I let him in, his voice tight with concern. Are you absolutely certain about this? Completely certain. Benjamin gestured to me. Thomas, this is Amara Jackson. Amara, Thomas Wright, my attorney. Ms. Jackson. Thomas shook my hand, studying me carefully. I need to speak with you privately if that's acceptable. I glanced at Benjamin, who nodded. That's fine. We can talk in the living room. Once we were alone, Thomas's professional demeanor softened slightly. Ms. Jackson, I need to make sure you understand what you're agreeing to. Benjamin is worth approximately $3 billion. If this marriage is later found to be fraudulent, you could face serious legal consequences. I understand. I also need to ensure you're not being coerced or pressured into this arrangement. I'm not. This was my choice. He pulled out a folder from his briefcase. I've drafted a marriage agreement that protects both parties. It specifies that this is a contractual arrangement, outlines the terms, and includes a divorce settlement. You should have your own lawyer review it. I don't have a lawyer, Mr. Wright, and we don't have time for me to find one. I took the papers and started reading. The legal language was dense, but I understood the basics. Thomas sat back. Benjamin mentioned you required him to live here on your farm as a condition of the marriage. That's actually quite clever. It demonstrates good faith on his part and protects you from accusations of being a gold digger. I kept reading. The agreement stated that after 1 year we could divorce. Benjamin would receive no claim to my farm or personal assets. I would receive a one-time payment of $2 million at the time of divorce, adjusted if we remained married longer. This seems fair, I said. But I want to add something. Thomas raised an eyebrow. What would you like to add? I don't want the money to go directly to me. I want it set up so that half goes to a fund for maintaining this farm, and half goes to a community development fund for this county. Schools, libraries, things like that. Thomas blinked in surprise. You want to give away half of a $2 million divorce settlement? I want to make sure this money helps people, not just me. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. I can add that clause. Is there anything else? I thought about it. Yes. I want a clause that says Benjamin has to work at least 20 hours a week on farm duties. If he's going to live here, he needs to contribute. A small smile appeared on Thomas's face. I'll add that as well. You're quite thorough, Ms. Jackson. I'm practical, Mr. Wright. We went back to the kitchen where Benjamin was pacing. Thomas sat down and began typing on his laptop, making the changes we discussed. What did you add? Benjamin asked me. I made sure the money goes to good use and I made sure you'll actually help around here. He nodded. That's fair. Thomas finished the revisions and printed 3 copies. We each read through the entire document carefully. I had to admit it was well written. Clear, fair, and protective of both of us. If you're both satisfied, sign here, here, and here. Thomas pointed to the signature lines. Benjamin signed first, his signature quick and confident. I picked up the pen, took a deep breath, and signed my name 3 times. Just like that, we had a legal agreement. Now we just need to make it official, Benjamin said, checking his watch. The courthouse opens at 9. We should head over. I'll need a few minutes to change, I said. You look fine, Benjamin said, then caught himself. I mean, you look great. That dress is perfect. I felt heat rise to my cheeks. Thank you. But I need to grab my purse and my documents. 20 minutes later, we were in Benjamin's car heading to the county courthouse. Thomas followed in his own vehicle. The drive took 30 minutes and I spent most of it looking out the window trying to wrap my head around what I was doing. Nervous? Benjamin asked. Terrified, I admitted. You? Same. He glanced at me. But also grateful. I know I said it last night, but I really do appreciate this, Amara. You didn't have to help me. Yes, I did. It was the right thing to do. The courthouse was an old brick building in the center of town. We parked and walked inside, Thomas trailing behind us. The clerk at the marriage license counter looked surprised when Benjamin explained we needed an immediate license and ceremony. That's highly unusual, she said, peering at us over her glasses. It's urgent, Benjamin said, and something in his voice made her nod. Let me see what I can do. It took some phone calls and paperwork, but by 9:30, we were standing in front of a judge in a small office. Judge Morrison was a kind-faced woman in her 60s who looked amused by our situation. So you two want to get married right now, she said. May I ask why the rush? Benjamin explained about the will and the deadline. Judge Morrison listened carefully, then looked at me. And you, Miss Jackson? Are you entering into this marriage of your own free will? I am, Your Honor. Do you understand this is a legally binding contract? I do. She nodded. Very well. Do you have rings? I hadn't even thought about rings. Neither had Benjamin, apparently, because he looked panicked for a moment. Then Thomas stepped forward and handed Benjamin a small box. I stopped at a jewelry store on the way, Thomas said quietly. Just simple bands. Benjamin opened the box. Inside were 2 plain gold rings. He took out the smaller one and held it out to me. Is this okay? It's perfect. Judge Morrison smiled. Benjamin Cole, do you take Amara Jackson to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Amara Jackson, do you take Benjamin Cole to be your lawfully wedded husband? I looked into Benjamin's eyes. They were deep brown, serious, and hopeful. This man was a stranger 12 hours ago. Now he was about to become my husband. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Benjamin looked at me questioningly. I nodded. He leaned in and gave me the briefest, gentlest kiss on the lips. It was over in a second, but something about it felt important. Congratulations, Judge Morrison said, signing our marriage certificate. I hope this works out for both of you. We walked out of the courthouse at 9:55. Benjamin checked his phone and let out a long breath. 5 minutes to spare, he said. We did it. We did, I agreed, looking down at the gold band on my finger. I was married. To a billionaire. Who was now coming to live on my farm. What had I gotten myself into? The drive back to the farm was quieter than the drive to the courthouse. Benjamin kept glancing at the ring on his finger like he couldn't quite believe it was there. I felt the same way about mine. We'd known each other for less than 12 hours and now we were married. So what happens now? I asked as we pulled into my driveway. Now I need to make some phone calls and handle the inheritance transfer. Then I guess I need to learn how to be a farmer. He smiled slightly. I should warn you, I've never done any kind of manual labor in my life. You're about to get a crash course. Thomas had followed us back to draw up some additional paperwork. He spent an hour in my kitchen on his laptop and phone, coordinating with Benjamin's business team and the executor of the estate. Benjamin paced the whole time, clearly anxious. Finally, Thomas looked up. It's done. The inheritance has been transferred to you, Benjamin. Cole Industries is officially yours. Benjamin's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank God. Gerald has already filed a contest to the will, claiming the marriage is fraudulent. I'll handle it, but you two need to be prepared for scrutiny. Live together, be seen together, make this look real. It is real, I said. We're legally married. You know what I mean. Thomas closed his laptop. I'll be in touch. Benjamin, try not to do anything else impulsive this week, please. After Thomas left, Benjamin and I stood in my kitchen looking at each other. He was still in his expensive suit. I was in my red dress. We were married strangers trying to figure out what came next. I should probably get my things, Benjamin said. I have an apartment in the city. How much stuff do you have? Not much, actually. Most of it's furniture that came with the place. I basically just lived there, I didn't really make it a home. That's sad. He shrugged. I was never there anyway. Always at the office. Well, that's going to change. Come on, I'll show you around the farm while we still have daylight. I changed into jeans and a bright green t-shirt, then took Benjamin outside. The farm wasn't huge, just 10 acres total. We had a vegetable garden, a small chicken coop, a barn that mostly stored equipment, and fields where I rotated crops. This was all your parents? Benjamin asked, looking around. They bought it 30 years ago when they got married. Started with nothing and built it up slowly. They loved this place. I pointed to the vegetable garden. My mother spent every morning out here. Said it was her meditation time. It's peaceful, Benjamin said, and he sounded like he meant it. It is. It's also a lot of work. I walked toward the chicken coop. Let's start with the basics. Meet the chickens. I opened the coop door and 6 chickens came running out, clucking and pecking at the ground. Benjamin took a step back. They don't bite, do they? Not usually. Here, hold out your hand flat with some feed. I poured some chicken feed into his palm. He held his hand out cautiously. The chickens immediately swarmed him, pecking the feed from his hand. He laughed, surprised. That tickles. They need fresh water every morning and evening, and they need to be fed twice a day. The eggs need to be collected daily. How do you collect eggs? I showed him, reaching into the nesting boxes and pulling out 3 brown eggs. Your turn. Benjamin rolled up his sleeves and reached into a box. He pulled out an egg very carefully, like it might explode. I did it. Good job. Now do the other 7. We spent the next 2 hours going through all the farm chores. Benjamin took notes on his phone, asking questions about everything. He was a fast learner, I give him that. But he was also clearly exhausted. By the time we finished, his expensive white shirt was dirty and he had hay in his hair. I think I need a shower, he said. And possibly a nap. Go ahead. I'll start dinner. While Benjamin showered, I made fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans. Simple, filling food. When he came down in clean jeans and a blue t-shirt, his hair still damp, he looked more relaxed than he had all day. Something smells amazing, he said. Sit down. Food's ready. We ate at the kitchen table, and I watched him close his eyes in appreciation after the first bite. This is incredible, he said. I haven't had a home-cooked meal in years. What do you usually eat? Whatever I could grab between meetings. A lot of takeout. Sometimes I'd forget to eat entirely. That's no way to live. I know. He looked around the kitchen. This is nice. Sitting down for an actual meal. Talking to someone face to face instead of through a screen. We talked through dinner about his business and my farm. Benjamin explained that coal industries had several divisions. Manufacturing, technology, real estate. It was complex and massive, and I only understood about half of what he told me. But I could hear the passion in his voice when he talked about the company and the people who worked there. Your father would be proud, I said. You saved his legacy. I hope so. He pushed his food around his plate. I spent so many years trying to earn his approval. Now he's gone and I'll never know if I succeeded. You did. You saved the company. You put 3,000 people's livelihoods ahead of your own comfort. That matters. He met my eyes. Thank you for that. After dinner, we went out to the porch and sat on the old swing my father had built. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was a beautiful evening, warm and calm. I can see why your parents loved this place, Benjamin said quietly. It's like a different world out here. It is. That's why I couldn't let it go. You won't have to now. The money will keep you secure for a long time. That's not why I did this, I said, looking at him. I want you to know that. Yes, the money helps, but I did this because it was right. Because you needed help and I could give it. I know. He was quiet for a moment. I'm not used to people doing things without wanting something in return. Everyone in my world has an angle. Not everyone is like that. No. You're proof of that. We sat in comfortable silence as the sky darkened and the first stars appeared. Lightning bugs started flickering in the grass. It was perfect and peaceful and strange. "What happens tomorrow?" I asked. "Tomorrow I have about 100 phone calls to make. Board meetings to set up. I need to officially take over the company." He glanced at me. "But I'll help with the morning chores first. I made a promise and I keep my promises." "Good. Because the chickens don't care if you're a billionaire. They still need to be fed." He laughed, a real genuine laugh, and I smiled. Maybe this crazy arrangement might actually work out. The next few days fell into a routine. Benjamin would wake at dawn and help me with the morning chores, fumbling but trying hard. Then he'd spend most of the day on his laptop and phone, handling business. In the evenings we'd work together on the farm and have dinner. We were like roommates who happened to be married. On the 5th day, Thomas called with concerning news. Gerald had pushed for an expedited hearing on his contest to the will. The judge had agreed and we had to appear in court the following Monday. "He's trying to catch you off guard," Thomas explained over speakerphone. "He thinks if he moves fast enough, he can prove the marriage is a sham before you two establish a real life together." "Let him try," Benjamin said, his jaw tight. "We have nothing to hide. Gerald has hired investigators. They'll be looking for any inconsistency in your story." Thomas paused. "You two need to be very careful about what you say and how you present yourselves." After the call, Benjamin was tense and angry. He paced the kitchen, running his hands through his hair. I should have known Gerald wouldn't give up that easily. He spent his whole life thinking he deserved the company more than me. Why does he think that? Because his mother, my father's first wife, believes my father never appreciated her son. When they divorced, Gerald was 8. My father remarried twice more and had me with his third wife. Gerald's mother filled his head with stories about how unfair it all was. "That's sad for him," I said. "But it doesn't give him the right to take what your father wanted you to have." "No, it doesn't." He stopped pacing and looked at me. "Amara, this hearing could get ugly. Gerald will try to make you look like you're only with me for money. Are you prepared for that?" "I am. Because it's not true." "I know it's not. But lawyers can twist anything." Monday morning we drove into the city together. Benjamin wore a dark blue suit, and I wore a simple maroon dress with a matching jacket. Thomas met us at the courthouse and walked us through what to expect. "Gerald's lawyer will try to establish that you two barely know each other, that the marriage was rushed for convenience, and that Amara is essentially a paid participant in a fraud. Don't let them rattle you. Answer honestly but briefly. And above all, stay calm." We entered the courtroom and I saw Gerald for the first time. He was in his late 30s with slick blonde hair and cold eyes. He sat with his lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in a black suit. When he saw Benjamin, his mouth twisted into a smirk. The judge, an older man named Judge Patterson, called the hearing to order. "This is a contest to the will of Richard Cole," he began. "Gerald Cole contests the validity of Benjamin Cole's marriage, claiming it's a fraudulent arrangement designed to circumvent the will's marriage requirement. Mr. Cole, your opening statement." Gerald's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, the evidence will show that Benjamin Cole and Amara Jackson met only days before their marriage, that Mrs. Jackson was compensated for participating in this arrangement, and that this entire marriage is a legal fiction designed to steal an inheritance that should rightfully go to my client." Thomas stood next. "Your Honor, Benjamin Cole and Amara Jackson are legally married. They have established a shared household and are building a life together. The timing of their marriage may have been influenced by the will's deadline, but that doesn't make it any less legitimate. Love doesn't follow a schedule." The hearing began with Gerald's lawyer calling Benjamin to the stand. She asked pointed questions about how we met, how long we'd known each other, what we knew about each other. Benjamin answered everything honestly. "I met Amara 5 days before our wedding. I was desperate and she agreed to help me. Yes, there's a financial arrangement, but that doesn't diminish the reality of our marriage. We're living together, building a life together, and learning about each other every day." "So you married a woman you'd known for less than a week?" The lawyer's voice dripped with skepticism. "I did. And I'm grateful every day that she agreed. How convenient that she agreed so quickly to marry a billionaire." "Objection," Thomas said. "Argumentative." "Sustained," Judge Patterson said. Gerald's lawyer tried a few more angles but couldn't shake Benjamin's story. Then she called me to the stand. "Mrs. Jackson, how much money are you receiving for this marriage?" $2 million after a year if we divorce." "That's quite a sum." "It is. But that's not why I agreed to marry Benjamin." "No? Then why did you?" I took a breath. "Because 3,000 people's jobs were at stake. Because Benjamin was honest with me about his situation. Because it seemed like the right thing to do. The right thing to do, she repeated mockingly. How noble. Tell me, had you ever met Benjamin Cole before the night he showed up at your door? No. Did you know anything about him? Not much. Just what he told me. So a complete stranger offered you $2 million to marry him and you said yes. That sounds less like nobility and more like opportunism. Objection, Thomas said again. Counsel is testifying. I'll rephrase. Mrs. Jackson, isn't it true that you were facing financial difficulties with your farm? Yes. So the money was certainly a motivating factor. It helped make the decision easier, yes. But it wasn't the only factor. What were the other factors? I looked directly at Gerald, then at the judge. I grew up believing that when you can help someone, you should. Benjamin needed help. 3,000 employees needed their jobs protected. I was in a position to help with both. So I did. That's what decent people do. The courtroom was silent for a moment. Gerald's lawyer looked frustrated. No further questions. Thomas stood for redirect. Mrs. Jackson, tell the court about the conditions you placed on this marriage. I required Benjamin to come live on my farm and help with the work there. I wanted to know his character before I legally tied myself to him. And has he done that? Yes. He's been living at my farm since our wedding day. He helps with chores every morning and evening. He's learning how to work with his hands, how to grow things, how to build things. Why was that important to you? Because anyone can throw money at a problem. I wanted to know if Benjamin was someone who would actually show up and do the hard work. And he has. Thomas smiled. Thank you. Nothing further. Gerald took the stand and claimed the whole marriage was obviously fake. He pointed out how quickly it had happened, how different our backgrounds were, how convenient the timing was. But Thomas was ready. He presented photos Benjamin had taken of the farm, of us working together. He showed text messages between Benjamin and his business partners mentioning his new life on the farm. He demonstrated that we were genuinely living together and building something real. Judge Patterson listened to everything carefully. Finally he spoke. This is an unusual situation, certainly. The marriage was quick and there is a financial arrangement involved. However, I find no evidence that this marriage is fraudulent. Mr. and Mrs. Cole are legally married, they have established a shared household, and they appear to be making a genuine effort to build a life together. The timing may have been influenced by the will's requirements, but that alone doesn't invalidate the marriage. I rule in favor of Benjamin Cole. The inheritance stands. Gerald's face turned red. He stood up and shouted, "This is a travesty. My uncle would never have wanted this." Mr. Cole, sit down, the judge said firmly. Your uncle made his wishes clear in his will. This hearing is over. We left the courtroom together. Benjamin was beaming and even Thomas looked pleased. Well done both of you, Thomas said. You were honest, consistent, and believable. Gerald won't stop trying, but this was a major victory. As we walked to the car, Benjamin suddenly pulled me into a hug. Thank you. Thank you for standing up there and defending us. I hugged him back, surprised by how natural it felt. We're a team now. That's what teams do. He pulled back and looked at me with something soft in his eyes. Yes, we are. On the drive home we were both quiet, processing everything. The hearing had been intense, but we'd won. The inheritance was secure. Benjamin's father's company was safe. You were amazing in there, Benjamin said as we pulled into the farm driveway. The way you talked about helping people, about doing what's right. Gerald's lawyer didn't know what to do with you. I just told the truth. I know. That's what made it powerful. He turned off the car but didn't get out. Amara, I know this started as a business arrangement. But I want you to know that I respect you. More than I've respected anyone in a long time. I respect you too, Benjamin. You could have given up when things got hard. But you didn't. You've been out here every morning feeding chickens and fixing fences. That takes character. We smiled at each other and I felt something shift between us. We were still virtual strangers in many ways. But we were also partners now. And maybe, just maybe, we were becoming friends. After the hearing, something changed between Benjamin and me. We defended our marriage in court, stood together against Gerald's attacks, and come out victorious. It created a bond that hadn't been there before. Benjamin threw himself into farm life with renewed energy. He still had business calls and meetings, but he made sure to be present for the morning and evening chores. He even started taking initiative, noticing things that needed fixing and attempting repairs himself. One morning I found him in the barn trying to fix a broken shelf. How's it going? I asked. Terrible, he admitted, laughing. I've hit my thumb twice and the shelf is crooked. Let me help. I showed him how to level the shelf properly and secure it. We worked together, and by the end, the shelf was solid and straight. I'm starting to understand why people find this satisfying, Benjamin said, admiring our work. You build something with your own hands and it actually works. That's the best part about farm life. You see the direct results of your effort. Over breakfast, Benjamin told me about a call he'd had with his board of directors. They're not happy about me being away from the office. They want me to come back to the city full-time. What did you say? I told them no. I can handle most things remotely and I'll come in for important meetings. But I made a commitment to live here and I'm keeping it. You don't have to do that. The judge already ruled in your favor. I know. But I want to. He looked around the kitchen. For the first time in my life, I'm not constantly stressed. I sleep through the night. I eat real meals. I'm learning new things. Why would I give that up? I felt warmth spread through my chest. That makes me happy to hear. Besides, I had an idea I wanted to run by you. What's that? Your farm could be much more profitable. You're doing everything manually, which is admirable but inefficient. What if we invested in some modern equipment and irrigation systems? We could double your crop yield without doubling your work. I frowned. That sounds expensive. It is. But I'd cover the cost. Consider it an investment in our home. Our home, I repeated. It was the first time either of us had called it that. If that's okay. I mean, I know it's your farm, but I'm living here too now and… It's okay, I interrupted. I like the sound of it. Our home. I thought about his proposal. If we modernize, we'd need to make sure we do it sustainably. My parents always believed in working with the land, not against it. Absolutely. We'll research the best environmentally friendly options. We spent the afternoon researching together on his laptop. Benjamin found sustainable irrigation systems, solar panels for power, and equipment that would make the work easier without harming the land. His business mind combined with my farming knowledge made for a powerful combination. You're really good at this, I said as he created a detailed implementation plan. Thanks. This is what I do best. Analyze problems, find solutions, create efficient systems. Why farming though? You could be applying this to your company. I am applying it to the company. But this feels different. This is personal. I care about making this farm successful because it matters to you. He looked at me. You matter to me. My breath caught. Benjamin? I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know. These past couple weeks living here with you have been the best weeks I've had in years. Maybe ever. They've been good for me too, I admitted. It's nice having someone to talk to. Someone to share the work with. That evening, Benjamin's business partner Lawrence called. Benjamin put him on speakerphone so I could hear too. Benjamin, I need you to come to the city, Lawrence said. We're negotiating a major acquisition and the other company wants to meet with you face to face. When? Thursday. It's important, Benjamin. This could add another $200 million to our annual revenue. Benjamin looked at me questioningly. I nodded. Okay, I'll be there Thursday. But I'm bringing my wife. There was a pause. Your wife? Yes, Mara. She's my partner in all this. If I'm coming to the city, she comes too. Of course. I'd love to meet her. After the call, Benjamin smiled at me. Want to see my world for a day? I'd like that. Thursday morning, we drove into the city. I wore the maroon dress from the hearing and Benjamin wore his blue suit. He looked natural in the expensive clothes, but I could see he wasn't as comfortable as he was in jeans and a t-shirt on the farm. Coal Industries headquarters was a sleek glass building in the business district. Benjamin held my hand as we walked in and I noticed people staring. Everyone's looking at us, I whispered. They're curious. I've worked here for 10 years and never brought anyone to the office. Plus, word got around that I got married. Lawrence met us in the lobby. He was in his 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. Benjamin, good to see you. He turned to me and smiled warmly. And you must be Amara. I'm Lawrence Chin, Benjamin's partner. It's nice to meet you. Benjamin tells me you're teaching him to be a farmer. I'm trying. He's a stubborn student. Lawrence laughed. That sounds like Benjamin. Come on, let me show you around before the meeting. He gave us a tour of the office. Employees kept stopping to congratulate Benjamin on his marriage and sneak looks at me. I felt out of place in this world of glass and steel, but Benjamin kept me close, introducing me to everyone we met. She's the reason I'm not completely stressed out anymore, he told one executive. Best decision I ever made. The meeting was intense. Benjamin negotiated with 3 executives from another company, discussing terms and numbers that went over my head. But I watched him work and saw why he was successful. He was sharp, confident, and fair. He didn't try to take advantage, but he also didn't let himself be pushed around. After 3 hours they had a deal. Everyone shook hands and Lawrence looked thrilled. "That was brilliant, Benjamin. You just secured our biggest acquisition in 5 years." "Thanks. But I need to get back to the farm. We have work to do this evening." On the drive home, Benjamin was quiet. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "About what?" "About how different my life is now. 6 months ago, I would have stayed in the city after that meeting. Gone to dinner with the executives, maybe drinks after. Worked until midnight, then slept at my desk. But all I wanted to do today was come home. To the farm." "To you," he corrected quietly. I didn't know what to say to that. The air in the car felt charged with something I wasn't ready to name. When we got home, we changed into work clothes and tackled the evening chores together. Benjamin had gotten good at collecting eggs. He no longer hesitated when reaching into the nesting boxes, and the chickens seemed to like him now. "I think Henrietta is my favorite," he said, holding up a large brown hen. "She always gives me the biggest eggs." I laughed. "You named the chickens?" "Of course. There's Henrietta, Martha, Beatrice, Dorothy, Faye, and Big Bertha." "Big Bertha?" "The rooster. He's intimidating." I laughed harder than I had in months. Benjamin grinned at me, and in that moment, covered in dust and holding a chicken, he looked genuinely happy. That night after dinner we sat on the porch swing again. It had become our routine, this quiet time watching the sun set. "Thank you for coming to the city with me today," Benjamin said. "Thank you for wanting me there." "I always want you there, Amara. Wherever I go." I looked at him. His expression was soft and open, and I realized with a start that I was developing feelings for this man. Real feelings, not just friendship or partnership. The thought scared me. "Benjamin, what are we doing?" I asked quietly. "What do you mean?" This was supposed to be a business arrangement. But it's starting to feel like more than that. He was quiet for a long moment. Would that be so bad? If it was more than that? I don't know. I don't know if I can trust this. We got married for practical reasons. What if these feelings are just because we're living together and getting comfortable? What if they're not? He turned to face me. What if this is real, Amara? What if what started as a practical arrangement is turning into something genuine? Then we're in complicated territory. Life is complicated. Doesn't mean it's not worth exploring. I wanted to respond, but I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to lean into these feelings, to see where they might lead. But another part was terrified of getting hurt, of this all being temporary. "I need time," I said finally, "to figure out what I'm feeling." "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." We sat in silence as the stars came out, both of us lost in thought about what might be growing between us. "I have to pause here and ask you something important. Have you ever felt something real developing in an unexpected situation?" Amara and Benjamin started this journey as strangers in a contract marriage, but now real feelings are emerging. If you're invested in their story and want to see where this goes, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think they should let themselves fall in love, or should they keep things strictly business? Your opinion really matters to me, and I want to hear what you think. Life on the farm continued to evolve. Benjamin had the new irrigation system installed, along with solar panels on the barn roof. The improvements made a huge difference. The crops were thriving and the daily work was more manageable. Benjamin split his time between the farm and remote business management. He'd set up a small office in what used to be my father's study, complete with multiple monitors and video conferencing equipment. Most mornings I'd hear him on calls, his voice confident and commanding as he ran a $3 billion company from a farmhouse. But he always stopped for lunch with me and he never missed the evening chores. One Saturday afternoon, about 6 weeks into our marriage, a sleek silver car pulled into our driveway. Benjamin and I were in the garden harvesting tomatoes when we heard it arrive. "Expecting someone?" I asked. "No." Benjamin frowned. "That's Lawrence's car though." Sure enough, Lawrence got out of the driver's seat. A woman in her 30s emerged from the passenger side. She had short black hair and was dressed in an elegant green pantsuit. "Benjamin," Lawrence called out. "Sorry to drop by unannounced." "It's fine. What's going on?" Benjamin pulled off his gardening gloves. "We need to talk about some urgent business matters. And Patricia wanted to meet Amara." He gestured to the woman. "Patricia Kim, our head of operations. Patricia, this is Amara Jackson Cole." I shook her hand, noting the hyphenated last name Lawrence used. I hadn't taken Benjamin's name legally, but people seemed to assume I had. It's lovely to meet you, Patricia said warmly. Benjamin talks about you constantly in meetings. He does. Oh yes. Amara would say this is inefficient, or, Amara taught me to think about sustainability. You've made quite an impression. Benjamin looked embarrassed. Can we go inside? It's hot out here. I served lemonade in the living room while Lawrence and Patricia explained the situation. The acquisition Benjamin had negotiated was hitting some snags. The other company wanted more FaceTime with him, and there were details that couldn't be handled remotely. They're asking you to come back to the city for 2 weeks, Lawrence said. Full time. I know that's a lot, but this deal is worth $200 million. We can't let it fall apart. Benjamin looked torn. He glanced at me then back at Lawrence. I'll need to discuss this with Amara. Of course. Lawrence stood. We'll give you two some privacy. Patricia, want to see the farm? I'd love to. I took Patricia outside while Benjamin and Lawrence talked. She was genuinely interested in the farm, asking questions about the crops and the chickens. This is amazing, she said, looking around. Benjamin seems so different now. Happier. You think so? Absolutely. He used to be so intense, so driven. Don't get me wrong, he's still driven. But now there's balance. He smiles more. He makes jokes in meetings. She looked at me. That's because of you. I think the farm has more to do with it than me. The farm is part of it. But you're the main reason. Patricia picked a tomato from the vine, examining it. I've known Benjamin for 5 years. I've never seen him care about anyone the way he cares about you. We barely know each other. Time doesn't always matter. Sometimes you just know. She smiled. I knew I loved my husband after 3 weeks. Everyone said we were crazy. We've been married 8 years now. When we went back inside, Benjamin and Lawrence had finished their discussion. Lawrence looked relieved. Thank you, Amara, Lawrence said. Benjamin tells me you're okay with him coming to the city for a couple weeks. I didn't say that, I corrected, looking at Benjamin. I said we'd figure it out together. Right. Sorry. Lawrence looked between us. I'll let you two work out the details. After they left, Benjamin and I sat at the kitchen table. I don't want to leave you with all the farm work, he said. That's not fair. I managed before you got here. I can manage for 2 weeks. I know you can. But we're partners now. I don't want you to have to do it alone. I thought about it. What if I came with you? To the city? Yes. We could get an apartment or hotel room. I could see your world properly. And we'd still be together. His face lit up. You'd do that. We're a team, remember? Besides, I've never spent much time in the city. It might be interesting. It's not as nice as here. I'll survive 2 weeks. Benjamin reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you. This means a lot. We arranged for a local teenager, Tyler Morrison, to check on the farm twice a day while we were gone. He was thrilled to earn the money and promised to take good care of everything. The following Monday we drove to the city with 2 suitcases. Benjamin had arranged for us to stay in a corporate apartment the company kept for visiting executives. The apartment was on the 20th floor of a luxury building. It was all modern furniture, stainless steel appliances, and floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city. This is where I used to live, Benjamin said, looking around. Before I moved to the farm. Doesn't feel like home anymore. It's very nice though. Nice isn't the same as home. He set down our suitcases. There are 2 bedrooms. You can take the master. We can share the space equally, Benjamin. I'll take the guest room. That first week was an adjustment. Benjamin went to the office early and came home late. I explored the city during the day, visiting museums and parks. In the evenings we'd have dinner together and talk about our days. By the second week I started going to the office with him. I'd bring my laptop and work on developing a website for the farm while he had meetings. The employees got used to seeing me around, and several started chatting with me during coffee breaks. Your husband is a legend around here, one young analyst told me. He saved this company from Gerald and now he's making it better than ever. He works hard. He does. But he's different lately. More patient. More willing to listen to ideas. People say marriage changed him. Patricia invited me to lunch one day. We went to a small restaurant near the office and talked about life, work, and relationships. How are you adjusting to being married to Benjamin? She asked. It's been an adventure. We started as strangers and we're still figuring each other out. Do you love him? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. I care about him. I enjoy his company. But love? That's complicated. Why is it complicated? Because we got married for practical reasons. What if what I'm feeling isn't real? What if it's just gratitude or habit or comfort? Patricia shook her head. Love doesn't care how it starts. It only cares where it goes. From what I've seen, you two have something special. Don't overthink it. That night, Benjamin and I had dinner at the apartment. He'd ordered takeout from his favorite Italian place. One more week and we can go home, he said. I miss the farm. I miss it too. But this has been good. I understand your work better now. What do you think of it? I think you're brilliant at what you do. But I also think you're right to not let it consume you anymore. Balance is important. He smiled. You taught me that. After dinner, we sat on the balcony watching the city lights. It was beautiful in its own way, but nothing compared to the stars over the farm. Amara, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret saying yes to me that night? I thought about it carefully. No, I don't regret it. Do you? Not for a second. Best decision I ever made. He turned to look at me. I know we agreed to a year before making any permanent decisions. But I want you to know that I'm happy with how things are. More than happy. Me too, I admitted. When we get back to the farm, I want to talk about our future. Really talk about it. About what we both want this to be. My heart raced. Okay. We sat in comfortable silence, both of us thinking about what lay ahead. The 2 weeks had shown me that Benjamin fit into my world and I fit into his. We worked well together no matter where we were. But the real question was whether what we had was just partnership or something deeper. I was starting to suspect it was the latter. Our last day in the city, Benjamin had one final meeting with the acquisition team. Everything was going smoothly and the deal was nearly finalized. Lawrence was thrilled, and even Patricia seemed relieved that the stressful negotiations were almost over. I was packing our suitcases at the apartment when Benjamin called. Amara, don't leave the apartment, he said, his voice tight. What's wrong? Gerald is in the building. Lawrence just spotted him getting into the elevator. I'm on my way back. Benjamin, I'm fine. He can't do anything. Please. Just stay inside and lock the door. I did as he asked, my heart racing. 10 minutes later there was a knock. I looked through the peephole and saw Benjamin with Lawrence. I opened the door and they rushed in. Did Gerald come here? Benjamin asked. No. What's going on? He's been following us. Lawrence pulled out his phone and showed me photos. My assistant noticed him outside the office yesterday. Then she saw him near the apartment building this morning. He's planning something. What could he possibly do? The judge already ruled in your favor. Gerald doesn't give up. Benjamin paced the living room. His mother has been wealthy her whole life, and she taught him that he deserves everything. The company, the money, all of it. He truly believes my father's will was unjust. There was another knock at the door. We all froze. Don't answer it, Lawrence said. But Benjamin looked through the peephole. It's Gerald. Then definitely don't answer it. I'm tired of running from him. Benjamin opened the door. Gerald stood there with a folder in his hands. He looked smug. Hello, cousin. Amara. Lawrence. What do you want, Gerald? Benjamin asked. To share some interesting information. He held up the folder. May I come in? No. Fine. I'll say it here where your neighbors can hear. Gerald opened the folder. I hired a private investigator. He's been very thorough. Did you know, cousin, that your wife accepted $2 million to marry you? We've never hidden that. The judge knew about the financial arrangement. Yes, but the judge didn't know about this. Gerald pulled out papers. I have evidence that Amara accepted the money, which means this was a transaction, not a marriage. That makes it fraud. You have no such evidence because it's not true, I said, stepping forward. I haven't accepted any money. The agreement states I get paid after a year if we divorce. Which we haven't. Gerald's smile faltered. My investigator says. Your investigator is lying or mistaken. Lawrence crossed his arms. I drafted that agreement myself. There has been no payment to Amara. None. Your whole premise is false. But the arrangement exists. The arrangement is legal and was presented to the court. You're grasping at straws, Gerald. Benjamin's voice was hard. Accept that you lost. My father wanted me to have the company, and that's what happened. Your father was a fool. Watch it. He chose you over me even though I'm the one who actually cared about him. You were always too busy with school than work. I was the one who visited him, who talked to him, who tried to have a relationship with him. For the first time, I heard real pain in Gerald's voice. Under all the anger and scheming, he was hurt. Gerald, I said quietly, I'm sorry you feel like you were passed over. That must really hurt. But taking the company away from Benjamin won't fix that pain. Don't pretend to understand, Gerald snapped. I lost my parents too. I know what it's like to feel like you didn't get enough time with them, to wish things were different. But destroying what they built doesn't honor their memory. Gerald stared at me, his expression conflicted. For a moment I thought I might be getting through to him. Then his face hardened again. This isn't over. I'll find a way to prove this marriage is a sham. No, Gerald, this is over. Benjamin stepped closer. I'm done being nice about this. If you continue to harass my wife or interfere with the company, I'll file for a restraining order and I'll sue you for harassment. Is that really what you want? More legal battles? More money wasted on lawyers? Gerald opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at the folder in his hands, then at us. My mother will be very disappointed, he said finally. Then she'll have to deal with it. Benjamin's voice softened slightly. Gerald, you could have a role in the company if you wanted. You have a business degree. You're smart. But you have to stop trying to sabotage me. Work for you? You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Your father was my father's brother. We're family. I don't want us to be enemies. Gerald looked stunned. You'd actually hire me after everything I've done? Yes. But only if you drop all the legal challenges and commit to actually working, not scheming. I watched this exchange with surprise. Benjamin hadn't mentioned this idea to me, but I could see the wisdom in it. Keep your enemies closer and maybe turn an enemy into an ally. Gerald stood there for a long moment, clearly wrestling with himself. Finally, he nodded slowly. I'll think about it. That's all I can promise right now. Fair enough. After Gerald left, Lawrence let out a long breath. That was either brilliant or insane. Probably both, Benjamin admitted. He looked at me. I should have discussed the job offer with you first. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Was the right move. He's motivated by feeling left out. Including him might actually solve the problem. Or it might blow up in our faces. Then we'll deal with it together. Lawrence grinned. You two really are a team, aren't you? We left the city the next morning. The drive home felt good, like we were returning to where we belonged. As we pulled into the farm driveway, I felt tension I didn't even know I was carrying melt away. Tyler had done a great job. The chickens were healthy, the crops were watered, and everything was in order. Home sweet home, Benjamin said, looking around with a smile. That evening, after we'd settled back in and done the chores, we sat on the porch swing as usual. The sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. Can we have that talk now? Benjamin asked. About our future? My heart started racing. Yes. I'll go first. He turned to face me. This arrangement, this marriage was supposed to be temporary. But I don't want it to be temporary anymore, Amara. I've fallen in love with you. I stared at him, shocked by the direct confession. I know we started this for practical reasons, he continued. But somewhere along the way it became real for me. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up. You make me laugh. You challenge me. You've shown me what it means to have a real home, a real partner. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you. Benjamin. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know how I feel. Because it's been eating at me for weeks, pretending this is just an arrangement when it stopped being just an arrangement for me a long time ago. I took a breath. It stopped being just an arrangement for me too. His eyes widened. Really? Really? I've been fighting it because I was scared. This was supposed to be simple. Help you save the farm, part ways after a year. But you made it complicated by being kind and funny and genuine. By actually caring about the chickens and the crops in my life. By becoming someone I look forward to seeing every day. So what does that mean? It means I love you too, I said, the words coming out easier than I expected. I love the way you try so hard at things you don't know how to do. I love how you talk to the chickens like they're people. I love that you chose this simple life over your fancy apartment. I love you, Benjamin Cole. He cupped my face in his hands and kissed me. This wasn't like the brief kiss at our courthouse wedding. This was deep and passionate and real. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. So what do we do now? I asked. We keep living our life. Together. For real this time. No divorce after a year? No divorce ever if you'll have me. I kissed him again. I'll have you. We sat on that swing until the stars came out, holding each other and talking about the future. A real future, not a contractual one. Benjamin talked about expanding the farm, maybe turning part of it into an event space for weddings. I talked about teaching sustainable farming classes. We dreamed together, planned together, built a life together with our words. I can't believe you showed up at my door 2 months ago, I said. Best wrong turn I ever made. Wrong turn? He laughed. I was completely lost that night. I'd been driving around in circles for hours. Your farm was literally the first house I saw with lights on. Pure luck. Or fate. Or fate, he agreed. Either way, I'm grateful. As we headed inside for the night, Benjamin pulled me close. Tomorrow I want to do something, he said. What? I want to buy you a real engagement ring. Something you picked out, not something Thomas grabbed in a hurry. I don't need a fancy ring. I know you don't need it, but I want to give it to you anyway. I want everyone to know you're loved and cherished, not just legally bound to me. Tears pricked my eyes. Okay. That night, for the first time, I didn't go to my bedroom. We fell asleep together in Benjamin's bed, wrapped in each other's arms, finally admitting what we'd both been feeling for weeks. This crazy, rushed, practical arrangement had turned into something beautiful, and I couldn't wait to see where it would go. The next few weeks were blissful. Benjamin and I stopped pretending our marriage was just an arrangement. We were genuinely together now, building a real relationship, and it felt wonderful. True to his word, Benjamin took me shopping for a new ring. We went to a small jewelry store in town, and I picked out a simple gold band with 3 small emeralds. That's it? Benjamin asked. You can have any ring in the store. This is the one I want. It's beautiful and practical. I can wear it while working without worrying about damaging something elaborate. The jeweler smiled. Your wife has excellent taste and good sense. Benjamin bought the ring and slipped it on my finger right there in the store, next to the plain gold band from our wedding. Perfect, he said, kissing my hand. Word spread quickly in our small community that Benjamin and I were genuinely in love. People who had been skeptical about our quick marriage started warming up to Benjamin. He became a regular at the local diner, the hardware store, and the farmer's market. Your husband is quite something, Mrs. Patterson, who ran the bakery, told me one morning. Never thought I'd see a billionaire getting excited about fertilizer. I laughed. He's full of surprises. Benjamin had become genuinely invested in the farm. He spent hours researching crop rotation, soil health, and sustainable practices. He turned his business acumen toward making the farm profitable while staying true to my parents' values of environmental stewardship. I think we could expand the vegetable operation, he said one evening, showing me detailed plans he'd drawn up. We could supply several local restaurants with fresh, organic produce. I've already talked to 3 chefs who are interested. That's ambitious. I know, but I believe we can do it. Together. His enthusiasm was contagious. Within a month, we'd contracted with 5 local restaurants. Benjamin handled the business side while I managed the growing and harvesting. It was challenging but exciting. Lawrence and Patricia visited again, this time with their spouses. We had a dinner party on the farm and I cooked a huge meal with vegetables from our garden. This is incredible, Amara, Patricia's husband James said. I can see why Benjamin loves it here. It's different from the corporate world, I admitted. Different is good. Lawrence raised his glass. To Benjamin and Amara. May your unusual beginning lead to a beautiful forever. We all toasted and I felt genuinely happy. Benjamin squeezed my hand under the table. After dinner, the men went outside to look at the new irrigation system while Patricia and I cleaned up. You're good for him, Patricia said as she dried dishes. I hope you know that. He's good for me too. I've been thinking about you too. About how it all started. She paused. It's funny how the most unexpected things can turn out to be exactly what we needed. Do you believe in fate? I believe in being open to possibilities. Benjamin could have driven past your house that night. You could have said no. But neither of those things happened. You were both brave enough to take a chance and look what came from it. That night, after everyone left, Benjamin and I lay in bed talking about the future. I want to transfer half ownership of the company to you, he said suddenly. I sat up. What? No, Benjamin, that's too much. It's not too much. You're my wife, my partner. And you've given me a home, a purpose, a life worth living. The company is valuable, but it's nothing compared to what you've given me. I didn't marry you for your money. I know. That's exactly why I want to do this. He pulled me back down beside him. I want us to be true partners in everything. The farm, the company, our life. Equal in all ways. That's incredibly generous. It's not generosity. It's common sense. You're brilliant with the farm. I want to see what you could do with resources backing you. Maybe start that agricultural education center you mentioned. Or fund research into sustainable farming. Whatever you want. I thought about my parents, about how they'd worked this farm their whole lives with limited resources. What could they have done with real backing? An agricultural foundation, I said slowly. We could fund small farmers, teach sustainable practices, preserve family farms. Yes, exactly. Benjamin's eyes lit up. We could change the whole industry. Make it sustainable and profitable. We stayed up late planning, dreaming, building something meaningful together. This was more than romance. This was true partnership. Over the next month, Benjamin worked with lawyers to officially transfer half his inheritance into an agricultural foundation. We named it the Jackson Family Foundation after my parents. The first thing we did was establish a grant program for small family farms. Applications poured in from all over the state. We read through them together, choosing families to support based on their commitment to sustainable practices and community impact. This one, I said, pointing to an application from a young couple trying to save their grandparents' dairy farm. They're doing everything right. They just need capital for equipment. Approved. Benjamin typed notes. What about this one? Single mother trying to start an organic farm. Definitely approved. We gave away $2 million in the first round of grants. The gratitude letters we received were overwhelming. People thanked us for believing in them, for giving them a chance to save their family legacy or start their dream. This is what your father's money should do, I told Benjamin. Help people. Build communities. Make a real difference. I wish I'd thought of it before. I was so focused on just maintaining the company, I never considered what we could do with the profits. You're doing it now. That's what matters. One Saturday, we hosted the first gathering of grant recipients at our farm. 20 families came and we spent the day sharing knowledge, resources, and stories. Benjamin gave a speech about sustainable business practices. I taught a workshop on soil health. We provided lunch from our own crops. This is amazing, one farmer told us. I've been farming for 30 years and I've never seen rich folks actually care about people like us. We care, I assured him. We're all in this together. As the sun set and our guests left, Benjamin and I stood in the middle of our farm, surrounded by everything we'd built together. I've been thinking, Benjamin said, about that event space idea. What if we built a barn specifically for teaching and gatherings? We could host regular workshops, bring in experts, create a real community center focused on sustainable agriculture. That would be incredible. But it's a huge project. We have the resources, and we have the passion. He pulled me close. Let's do something meaningful with this life we've built. Okay, let's do it. That night, lying in bed, I reflected on how far we'd come. 2 months ago, Benjamin was a desperate stranger on my porch. Now he was my husband, my partner, my love. We'd taken something transactional and turned it into something beautiful. I love you, I whispered. I love you too, he replied, pulling me closer. More than I ever thought possible. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt deeply content. We had challenges ahead. Building the education center, managing the foundation, balancing Benjamin's business with our farm life. But I knew we could handle it together. Whatever came next, we'd face it as partners, as lovers, as a team. 3 months into our marriage, life had settled into a beautiful routine. The farm was thriving, the foundation was helping dozens of families, and Benjamin and I were genuinely, deeply in love. I should have known it was too good to last without another challenge. Gerald had been quiet since Benjamin's job offer. We'd heard through Lawrence that he was considering it, talking to lawyers about what it would mean. Part of me hoped he'd accept and we could all move forward. Another part of me suspected he wasn't done trying to destroy Benjamin's happiness. I should have listened to that second part. It was a Tuesday morning when Lawrence called, his voice urgent. Benjamin, we have a problem. Gerald has called an emergency board meeting. He's trying to remove you as CEO. On what grounds? He's claiming you've abandoned your duties by living on the farm. He's gathered testimonials from board members who are concerned about your absence from headquarters. The meeting is tomorrow at 2. Benjamin went pale. Can he actually do this? If he convinces enough board members, yes. You need 51% of the board to vote confidence in you as CEO. Right now, it's going to be close. After the call, Benjamin sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. We knew he'd try something eventually, I said, sitting beside him. I thought offering him the job would satisfy him. I was wrong. So what do we do? I have to go to the city? Fight for the company. He looked at me with anguish. But if I lose, everything my father built is gone. And the 3,000 employees who depend on us will lose their jobs. Then we make sure you don't lose. Yes, I'm coming with you. And we're not going alone. I started making calls. First to Lawrence, getting names of board members and their concerns. Then to Patricia, asking her to gather testimonials from employees. Then to the farmers we'd helped through the foundation. What are you doing? Benjamin asked, watching me work. Building our case. Gerald thinks your absence from the office is a weakness. We're going to show it's a strength. We drove to the city that evening with boxes full of documentation. Lawrence met us at the corporate apartment and we stayed up late preparing. The board's main concern is that you're not engaged with the company, Lawrence explained. They think living on a farm means you don't care about coal industries anymore. That's ridiculous, I said. Benjamin works harder now than he did before. He's just more balanced. We need to prove that. Patricia had joined us and was organizing papers. Look at these numbers. Since Benjamin started managing remotely, productivity is up 12%. Employee satisfaction is up 20%. And we just closed the biggest acquisition in company history. The board knows those numbers? They do. But Gerald is spinning them as luck, not leadership. The next day we arrived at Coal Industries headquarters at noon. The board meeting was scheduled for 2, which gave us time to talk to individual board members beforehand. Benjamin and Lawrence met with them one by one. I waited in Benjamin's office, nervous but determined. This was his company, his father's legacy. We couldn't let Gerald take it. At 1:30, Patricia came to get me. The board wants to hear from you. From me? Yes. Gerald made you an issue, claimed the marriage distracted Benjamin from his duties. You need to defend yourself and him. I followed her to the boardroom, my heart pounding. 12 people sat around a long table. Gerald was at the far end looking smug. Benjamin stood when I entered. Board members, this is my wife, Amara Jackson Cole. I took a deep breath and addressed the room. I understand you have concerns about Benjamin's commitment to this company. I want to address those concerns directly. Mrs. Cole, one older man said, we appreciate you coming. But with all respect, this is a business matter. It's a business matter that involves me, so I'm making it my business. I pulled out the folder Patricia had prepared. Since Benjamin and I married, he successfully negotiated a $200 million acquisition, improved employee satisfaction by 20%, and increased productivity across all divisions. He's done all of this while also learning to run a farm, establishing an agricultural foundation, and helping 20 families save their livelihoods. Yes, but he's not here, another board member said. He's 2 hours away on a farm. He's available every single day by phone, email, and video conference. He attends every meeting that matters. And when he needs to be here in person, he's here. I looked around the room. The question isn't whether he's present. It's whether he's effective. And the numbers prove he is. Gerald stood up. This is all very touching, but the fact remains that my cousin has abandoned his responsibilities. He's playing farmer while this company suffers. The company isn't suffering, Lawrence cut in. It's thriving. And Benjamin isn't playing at anything. He's living a balanced life, which makes him a better leader. Balanced? Gerald laughed. He married this woman after knowing her for less than a day, moved to her farm and stopped coming to work. That's not balanced. That's a breakdown. Watch how you talk about my wife, Benjamin said quietly, but there was steel in his voice. Or what? You'll fire me? Oh wait, you can't because you won't have a company to fire me from after this vote. Mr. Cole, I said looking directly at Gerald, I know you're hurt. I know you feel like you should have inherited the company. But destroying it won't fix that pain. Your uncle built something incredible. Don't tear it down just because you're angry. For a moment, Gerald looked uncertain. Then his expression hardened again. Let's vote, he said. The board chair called for the vote. All in favor of maintaining Benjamin Cole as CEO, raise your hand. I held my breath as hands went up. 5, 6, 7. We needed 7 out of 12. All opposed. For hands. Gerald's face fell. 1 abstention, the chair noted. The motion passes. Benjamin Cole remains CEO of Coal Industries. The relief that washed over me was profound. Benjamin let out a breath he'd been holding. Lawrence grinned. Gerald stood up abruptly. This is a mistake. You'll all regret this. Gerald, wait, Benjamin said. The job offer still stands. Help us build something instead of trying to tear it down. I don't want your pity job. Gerald headed for the door. It's not pity. It's family. Benjamin's voice stopped him. We're all that's left of my father's family. Don't throw that away. Gerald turned around slowly. His expression was conflicted, angry and hurt and tired all at once. "I'll think about it," he said finally. Then he left. After the meeting, the board members congratulated Benjamin and welcomed me warmly. Several mentioned that they were impressed by my speech and by the foundation's work. "You two are quite a team," one woman said. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." That evening, back at the apartment, Benjamin pulled me into his arms. "You saved me today," he said. Again. We saved each other. That's what partners do. I'm so tired of fighting Gerald. Of constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for his next move. Maybe he'll finally accept the job. Maybe this was the wake-up call he needed. Maybe. Benjamin didn't sound convinced. We drove home the next morning, both exhausted but relieved. As we pulled into the farm driveway, I felt tension drain from my shoulders. This was our sanctuary, our safe place. "I never want to go through that again," Benjamin said as we got out of the car. "Hopefully you won't have to." We spent the rest of the day doing peaceful farm work, reconnecting with the simple life we'd built. That evening, as we sat on the porch swing watching the sunset, Benjamin's phone rang. It was Gerald. "I'll take the job," Gerald said without preamble. "But I have conditions." "What conditions?" "I want a real position, not some made-up title. I want to actually contribute. And I want to report directly to you, not through some middleman." Benjamin looked at me. I nodded. "Done," Benjamin said. "When can you start?" "Monday." "But Benjamin?" "Yes. Thank you for giving me a chance." After the call, Benjamin sat in stunned silence. "Did that really just happen?" he asked. "I think it did. You just turned your biggest enemy into an employee. More than that. Maybe, eventually, into family." I leaned against him. "You're a good man, Benjamin Cole. Only because you make me want to be." We sat there as the stars came out, holding each other, grateful for everything we'd overcome and excited for everything still to come. 6 months after our courthouse wedding, Benjamin and I woke up on a Saturday morning and looked at each other with the same thought. "Let's do it," he said. "Do what?" "Renew our vows. Have a real wedding. Invite everyone we care about. Celebrate this marriage properly." I smiled. "I'd love that." We spent the next month planning a celebration at the farm. Not a fancy wedding, but a genuine gathering of family and friends. We invited Lawrence and Patricia, the board members who'd supported Benjamin, the farmers from our foundation, our neighbors, and even Gerald. "Are you sure about Gerald?" I asked as Benjamin wrote out the invitation. "I'm sure. He's been working hard at the company. He's actually good at his job when he's not busy scheming. And he's family." Gerald surprised us by accepting. He even called to ask what he could bring. "Just yourself," Benjamin told him. "That's enough." The day of the celebration was perfect. Clear blue sky, warm sun, gentle breeze. We'd set up tables in the yard, strung lights between the trees, and prepared a feast from our farm's produce. I wore a simple cream dress and carried wildflowers from our field. Benjamin wore a blue suit with no tie, looking relaxed and happy. Judge Morrison, who'd married us the first time, agreed to officiate the vow renewal. She stood under an arch decorated with flowers as our guests gathered around. "When I married you 6 months ago," she began, "I wasn't sure it would last. You barely knew each other. The circumstances were unusual. But I can see now that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the strongest foundations." Benjamin and I faced each other, holding hands. "Amara," he said, "when I showed up at your door, I was desperate and lost. You didn't just agree to help me. You challenged me. You made me live in your world, work with my hands, learn what really matters. You taught me about kindness, community, and love. I came to you needing a wife on paper. You gave me a real partner, a true home, and a life worth living. I promised to always work beside you, to always listen to you, and to always love you with everything I have." Tears ran down my face. "Benjamin, you came into my life like a storm. Unexpected, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. But you weren't just a storm. You were an opportunity. A chance to help someone, to build something meaningful, to take a risk on possibility. You've worked harder than any man I've ever known to prove you deserve this life we've built. You've honored my parents' memory by loving their farm. You've honored me by becoming a true partner in every sense. I promise to always stand beside you, to challenge you when you need it, to support you in everything, and to love you completely." Judge Morrison smiled. "Benjamin and Amara, you've already spoken your legal vows. Today you speak vows of the heart. By the power of love and partnership, I pronounce you husband and wife." Again. We kissed to cheers and applause. It felt different from the courthouse kiss. This was the kiss of two people who'd chosen each other, not just legally but emotionally and completely. The celebration was beautiful. Lawrence gave a speech about watching Benjamin transform from a workaholic into a balanced, happy man. Patricia talked about the foundation and how it was changing lives. Tyler, the teenager who'd helped with the farm, told a funny story about teaching Benjamin to drive a tractor. Then Gerald stood up. Everyone got quiet. "I'm not good at apologies," he began. "But I owe Benjamin and Amara a big one. I spent months trying to destroy what they built because I was jealous and hurt. I was wrong." He looked at Benjamin. "You gave me a chance when I didn't deserve one. You offered me family when I offered you nothing but trouble. Thank you. And congratulations on building something real." Benjamin stood and hugged his cousin. It was awkward but genuine. I saw several people wiping their eyes. As the sun set, we danced. Benjamin had hired a small band, and they played while our guests enjoyed the evening. Benjamin and I swayed together under the lights. "This is what I imagined when I thought about getting married someday," I said. "Surrounded by people we love, celebrating something real. Better than a courthouse?" "Much better. Though I'm grateful for that courthouse day too. It's where this all began." "Where we began," he corrected. After most guests had left, a small group remained around a fire pit. Lawrence and Patricia, Gerald, Judge Morrison, and a few farmer friends. "Tell us the story again," one farmer's wife asked. "How did you two really meet?" Benjamin and I looked at each other and laughed. "I was desperate," Benjamin began. "I was about to go to bed," I continued. "I knocked on a stranger's door at midnight. I almost didn't answer. I asked her to marry me. I said yes. And here we are, we said together." "That's the craziest love story I've ever heard," Patricia said, smiling. "It's not crazy," Judge Morrison said. "It's brave. They both took a huge risk. They both chose to trust. And look what came from it." Gerald spoke up quietly. "I used to think love had to look a certain way. That relationships had to follow rules. You two taught me that there are no rules. Just choices. And courage." Later that night, after everyone had finally gone home, Benjamin and I cleaned up together. We moved around our kitchen in comfortable rhythm, washing dishes and putting away leftovers. "Thank you," Benjamin said as we finished. "For what?" "For saying yes that night. For taking a chance on me. For building this life with me." He pulled me close. "I came to you with nothing but desperation and a deadline. You gave me everything. You gave me everything too. This farm would have been lost without you. But more than that, you gave me partnership. Real partnership. Someone to share the work and the joy with." "So what happens now?" he asked. "We fought for the company, started the foundation, built this life. What's next?" "Now we just live it. We keep working, keep growing, keep helping people. We have quiet mornings with chickens and busy days with crops. We argue sometimes and make up. We build that education center we planned. We host more gatherings. We just be together." "That sounds perfect." We went outside one last time to look at our farm under the stars. Everything was peaceful and right. "Do you ever think about how different things would be if I hadn't knocked on your door that night?" Benjamin asked. "Sometimes. But I always come to the same conclusion." "What's that?" "That it was meant to be. Maybe not from the start, but from the moment we chose each other. From the moment we decided to make this work. Fate might have brought you to my door. But we built everything after that ourselves." "I like that." He kissed the top of my head. "Mrs. Cole." "I like that too." I smiled. "Mr. Jackson Cole." "Jackson Cole? I'm keeping my name too." Hyphenated. "We're partners in everything, remember?" "Partners in everything," he agreed. We stood there in the quiet night, two people who'd started as desperate strangers and become true partners. Our journey had been unusual, rushed, and complicated. But it had also been beautiful. 3,000 jobs had been saved. A company had been preserved. A farm had been revitalized. A foundation was helping families across the state. And two people had found real love in the most unexpected way. As we walked back to the house, hand in hand, I thought about my parents. They'd always told me that the best things in life came from taking chances and being kind. They were right. Benjamin had taken a chance knocking on my door. I'd taken a chance saying yes. We'd both chosen kindness over suspicion, hope over fear. And from those choices, we'd built something beautiful. "Ready for bed?" Benjamin asked as we reached the porch. "Ready for the rest of our lives," I replied. He smiled and pulled me inside our home, where we'd continue building our story one day at a time together. The end. Epilogue. 2 years later, the Jackson Family Foundation had helped over 100 family farms. The Coal Industries Education and Events Center at our farm hosted workshops every month, teaching sustainable agriculture to hundreds of people. Gerald had become the company's chief operating officer and was in a serious relationship with Patricia's sister. Lawrence retired and bought a small farm 3 miles from ours. He and his wife visited every Sunday for dinner. Benjamin and I welcomed our first child, a daughter we named Rachel after my mother. Benjamin cried when she gripped his finger in her tiny hand. "I never thought I'd have this," he whispered. "A real family." "You have it now," I said. "We both do." And we did. We had love, partnership, purpose, and family. Not because it was easy, but because we chose it. Every single day we chose each other and chose to build something meaningful together. That's what real love is. Not a fairy tale or a dramatic romance. Just two people choosing to show up, work hard, and care for each other. Every day. Together. Forever.